Action. Action. We good? Okay. The camera's probably going to miss a lot that I'm going to write on the whiteboard. Everybody needs a piece of paper and a pencil. You're going to take some mad notes because I don't have a handout. First things first, if your phone rings during this class, you will make a donation of $25 to KW Cares. We all in agreement upon that?
So you're asking us to silence them?
Yes, please silence your phones because we only have 1 hour to go through so much information. Your heads are going to explode. Going to explode. Let's get started. First of all, what is an REO? Anybody?
Real estate owned.
Real estate owned. What does that mean? Real estate owned. The bank owns it, not a person owns it. We're not going to talk about short sales today. We're specifically talking about those properties that have gone through the foreclosure process and have been purchased or bought back by the bank on the trustee sale. So these are owned by real estate.
Is it owned by Fannie and Freddie, or is it just?
We're going to talk about all of them.
Okay.
We're going to talk about the whole thing. So these are bank-owned properties. So on the MLS right now, Marcy is my lovely assistant for the day. Thank you, Marcy. My Vanna. We're going to use the MLS to kind of guide the class. So as you guys are searching on the MLS, you're going to come across these properties on a regular basis. They've always been around. They always will be around. Right now in Utah County, if you do REOs and HUD homes, we've got about 52 of them right now in Utah County. So you're going to come across them for sure. Some of the best deals that are out there are going to be these foreclosures, right? If you ever get those phone calls that say, hey, I want to buy a foreclosed home, because I know it's a good deal. Well, this is the list they're talking about. Dan, go.
How did you find them? Did you just do an owner search?
Great, let's do it. Refine search. This is good to know. You just do active. I didn't do anything less than 125,000 because you will get mobile homes and stuff like that. You go down to the very bottom and you can do the listing details right here, and you can do owner type. You can do the REO foreclosed and bank owned, and then there's another one that's just HUD. So that's all we've done for this to bring up. So go back to the results. So we're going to go down all 52 of these listings, or as far as we can, because I've already gone through these earlier, and out of those 52, we're pretty much going to see one of, at least a couple of every type of foreclosure that's out there. So a little secret is when you do this drop-down menu, good job, Marcy, the confidential report, if you guys aren't aware, the confidential report will show you the agent remarks. Most of the details on these foreclosures are in the agent remarks, not the public remarks. So when we bring, this one is, I already looked at this one. You guys have probably seen this one on the market up in Highland. Scroll down a little bit. You'll see down here, immediately, it's not any specific type of REO, it's just a regular REO. So we're going to break your paper down into like a few different categories. I'm going to call the first category just REO. And what I mean by that, because they're all REOs, it's just like a normal REO or a regular REO, which essentially means it's not really Fannie or Freddie or any of those other ones. It's just some random bank. It could be, what's that bank right there? Bank of Utah. It could be Bank of Utah's foreclosure. And normally the process for that is you just do the offer direct with the listing agent, right? And this is what he's saying. Jerry over at Century 21 is just saying, hey, nothing fancy, just send me an offer, regular Rep C. Even though it's a bank owned, you just operate just like you would on anything else. Okay, let's go to the next one. Awesome. So immediately when you guys are looking at these listings, it's kind of neat to jump down and say, okay, the owner type, so it's HUD owned. And so I always jump to the agent and say, oh, he left it blank. That's interesting. First of all, shame on him. Most HUD agents would get, they'd get in big trouble if they weren't putting that HUD information, because immediately, what are questions? If you had a client, scroll up a little bit, if you had a client that was interested in this house, and you say, okay, we want to make an offer, you scroll down and say, okay, I know it's a HUD home. What information do we need when it comes to HUD? We'd call that listing agent, and what would we ask them?
Like need a number.
Speak up. Speak
a HUD
up.
number, like a number,
Bingo.
case number.
So right off the bat, let's back up a little bit though. What is HUD, guys? We got new agents in
Housing
here.
and urban
Talk with
development.
them.
Housing and urban development.
Housing and urban
Foreclosed
development.
FHA homes.
Yep, and they're FHA homes that foreclose, and I don't know the process, but essentially if you've got a homeowner that has their loan as an FHA loan, and they get foreclosed on, there's some sort of process where that bank can say, hey, because this is FHA, HUD might step in and say, hey, we'll sell it for you through the HUD program, but not always. Because I know that they can still end up as one of the other REOs, but oftentimes it is HUD that will step in. So HUD comes in first. And so right now we're going to say, okay, what do we need?
Number.
We need the
Case
FHA case number. All HUD homes are going to have this FHA case number. Why do we want that number?
Gotta be submitted with the offer.
So we can search on that.
Boom, I like this girl. Okay, it says active, it's been 2 days, but HUD is an auction. So, the auction is not done over the MLS though. It's over, open up a new tab, and go to HUDhomestore.com. I'm not gonna write that down.
HUDhomestore.com.
Yes, ma'am.
It's just a short link to HUD.gov/whatever. But this is the HUD website. Everything has to be done over the HUD website, meaning the offer has to be made over the HUD website, but also the status. So when you put in Utah under here, we could find, I mean, you could call that listing agent and say, hey, what's the FHA number? Or you'd come here and say, well, I know it was in Highland or wherever that was. Let's put it in here. We could find it on here. Let's actually do a quick search. So just put in Orem. We're going to see these on our list. But these are a good places to start. Oh, you got to do the state.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it won't let you go without the state.
Where is that?
Right, yeah, you got it. But HUD Home Store will give you the most up-to-date information on the auction side of things. So we've only got one home here in Orem. Yeah, go ahead and click on it. And you'll see right now the bid submission time remaining 9 hours and 49 minutes. So does that mean that the bid, like we just got lucky and we're like, oh, we're down to the very last minute, how cool are we? Maybe, but chances are, how a HUD home works is the first 10, sometimes 15 days, it's on the market, and then it has that bid cutoff deadline. If there is no bid submitted when it gets to that deadline, it goes into simply daily until midnight type thing. So chances are that's what's happened. Yeah, it says right there, daily at midnight, and now it's Central Standard Time, so it's 11 o'clock for us. So
So,
always keep that in mind.
That first period, they hold them all and then review, and if there's one that fits the criteria, that's the one they accept.
Yeah, and it's super robotic, meaning I don't even think humans are reviewing them. I think it's a mathematical equation that says, hey, there's an offer that
There's your
meets
nets.
X, Y, and Z, and it just automatically kicks off the process.
so when you're putting a bid on a HUD home, is it all about the value, the money then? I mean, it's like, if you say it's that way, like how do you make a strong HUD offer?
Great question. So HUD homes are interesting. First of all, what's interesting about this list price? And this is for HUD homes more than any other REO. What is where does the list price for a HUD home come from? Because there's on a lot of, even though there's a listing agent involved, the listing agent on HUD homes are like, they just get told what to do.
Appraisal.
Say it louder.
FHA appraisal.
An appraisal. This is very different than everything else. There's an appraisal done on a HUD home. Appraised value equals list value. And what does HUD make us do? They make the lender use that appraisal. Right, Melanie and Trent?
Unless you're doing a different type of loan, yes.
Unless you can break out of that, but if you've got a first-time home buyer, hey, it's $155,000, we're doing an FHA loan, which is probably pretty common, that is the appraised value. So if you say, hey, this is such a good deal, let's offer $165,000. You guys see the predicament that might put you in? Every penny you go above that list price is most likely going to have to be a penny out of your client's pocket in addition to the down payment. It's taken us like several HUD deals to like learn that, but man,
Unless,
that's
like I said, unless they can go conventional, and then they can pull another appraisal. But otherwise, you're stuck to that.
you're
And
stuck.
your
So
client's
if they're-
gotta be prepared to bring the extra
Yeah.
money in.
So if their
So-
loan is FHA, they have to, okay,
Yeah, it's a
that
case
makes sense.
number.
It's
So
just
Bill
like-
brought up a good point. You can still ask for closing costs in that, but one thing HUD won't do is they won't pay for an owner's policy. So that is
Yeah.
something that if they want an owner's policy,
Yeah.
the buyers have to pay for that out of pocket as well.
Okay,
Okay, and the offer process, remember how this one on the REO, just direct with the listing agent, just like any other property, you submit the Rep C, not HUD. HUD, you do the bid through HUDHomestore.com. Your clients, if you have a client that says, oh, I don't need you, I'll just go do the bid myself. You can't. A HUD home can only be bought by a buyer represented by an agent in this, that has got an account on HUD Home Store.
But it's not like a normal auction where it's cash only.
Right. It's not like a,
Normal financing.
there's no such thing as a normal auction really, right? They're all messed up. But they, but it's just a bid. Now the reason I'm choosing my words wisely, the bid is through here, then you're notified, congratulations, you won the bid, then you have to do the contract. HUD has their, this marker stinks. Try this. They have their own contract, whereas this is probably a Utah Rep C with a bank addendum, right? Your experience? HUD is crazy. Congratulations, you won your bid. You have 48 hours to get a HUD contract signed in blue ink, filled out perfectly on the desk of either Matt Martin,
so it has to be in blue ink?
blue ink. You send him a contract and it has to be the original, so your FedEx overnight. Matt Martin. Home Telos or Telos, maybe?
Yeah, with an L.
And Pemco. So HUD, even though it's housing and urban development, and they have local listing agents, go back to the MLS. Who was that? I don't even know who that. There's a few here in. So yeah, Valden. He's going to get in trouble for not having all that stuff in there.
So
but
Clay,
he
does
has
that go
been
to
2 days.
one of those 3 sources, or?
Right, so how HUD works is they say even though you use the HUD website to get the bid and you win it, and you have Valden that's the local listing agent, a lot of us could probably list HUD homes, quite frankly. They only pay like 1 or 1.5% or something. It's a discounted listing, but you don't do anything. Why? Because you do it over HUD, and then after you win the bid, they'll say, okay, your file is assigned to either Matt Martin in Texas, Home Telos, or Pemco, which are both in Colorado. And these are national offices for the West Coast. I'm sure the East Coast has their own. But that's where you mail the contract, and you actually do all of the negotiations after going under contract with one of those 3 law
Manager.
offices. One of those
So the
companies.
initial bid is just value only. And then after that you
Or
can
closing
negotiate,
costs.
okay, closing costs as well, okay.
And after that, you can negotiate repairs? No, it's HUD homes. They're as is.
I was gonna
Yeah,
say,
you don't have
So what is the
utilities.
aware on
negotiation
here.
that you're doing with Matt, Hotels or Pemco?
Paperwork,
Paperwork?
mostly. Getting the contract done. Well, for example, hey, we've got this great HUD home. I want to do an inspection. There's no utilities on.
Right.
Hey, HUD, will you turn on utilities? Nope. You get to turn them on. Either you or the buyer gets to turn them on. But you have to get authorization from one of them to turn on the utilities, and you have to do the winterization when it's cold out. It's kind of a mess. I have sold HUD homes, even to first-time home buyers, and we just didn't even bother to turn on the utilities. We just said, look, what's the worst thing that can be wrong with the house? Broken pipes, broken furnace, broken hot. Let's just assume that they're all broken. Does our math still work? Do you still want to tackle this home? Yes.
So you
okay,
go ahead and do
great.
an inspection, but not with the utilities on,
Yeah,
just so that
absolutely.
the
We'll still do the
structure and what they
inspection.
can check.
Now keep in mind too, HUD homes, go back to HUD Home Store. They do an inspection before they list the home. It's very, very basic. But when you get in here, if you go to addendums, they always have these little attachments. So one of these is going to be like this little property disclosure repairs. Click on that, let's see. Oh, it's good, we just download it and all that stuff. But it's going to have like, hey, did the pipes hold pressure? Because they go by with an air compressor, stick it down one of the pipes, see if it holds pressure. They do some real basic stuff, so you kind of have a real basic idea of what you're getting into.
Well, the other thing that they do, Clay, is because it has to meet FHA standards, the FHA appraiser is going to have the FHA required repairs in there, and they're actually going to budget for those.
Right. Now, sometimes you'll see HUD homes that will have, this one doesn't have it.
It says repair escrow.
Yeah.
And that's
It
really
says right,
important.
go back to that, go back to property info. So right here, it'll say
Zero.
property repair. This one's 0. That means the house is in great shape. But if they find those repairs, which a lot of times if the furnace is broken, you'll see here, hey, there's $3,000 that needs to be escrowed. Now, the first time I did a HUD home, I thought, oh, sweet, they're going to give us $3,000, like, for the deal. No, it actually means that when you're doing the loan, the lender has to allocate another $3,000 to be held in an escrow account. And then when the furnace is fixed, they send the invoice to the title company. The title company pays the invoice of the $3,000 to pay that.
So your buyer actually has to finance the 3,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna say some things I learned from doing it from this side. Make sure you're working with somebody who knows how to do HUDs, big time, okay, that's really important. But then also make sure you let your loan officer know that escrow amount, because there's a required letter from the lender
Yeah.
that they want, and they want detailed information, and your lender needs that repair escrow. And your buyers need to know that too, because they will
Yeah.
be paying for that. So, just FYI, work with somebody who knows how to do them.
Do you consider that in your offer then, or how's that work? Like if there was an escrow amount, you're not gonna add that to your offer, like,
No, I think we just did
No,
what
you
we
just
did.
try to.
But you
It's
just,
in
you
the
still want
loan
to
amount.
calculate it. To be completely honest, in this market right now, HUD homes they're normally priced absolutely accordingly. The days of like lowballing a HUD home, I have not seen that in 2.5 years since the shift happened. You know, back when everything was super, super slow, it happened all the time. But nowadays, quite honestly, it's, hey, there's a HUD home, there's 10 days, there's gonna be multiple offers, you've got to just go at the list price, be as lean as possible, and maybe go up over. Usually I'll tell people, hey, if in addition to your down payment you have another $1,000, let's maybe do 156 just to try to win
do
it.
you usually do list price then minus closing costs minus commissions for your net? I mean, is that a typical offer?
Yeah, if the buyer needs closing costs, then absolutely. If there's any chance the buyer doesn't need closing
That's better.
costs, then yeah, strip them off. It'll make you more.
Because it's all just gonna be, it's gonna come down
It's
to
a
net.
And when you're doing the offer,
For
it even
HUD, right?
shows the net. Yeah, I mean it's all disclosed. It shows the
And
net.
if it's a robot picking it, they're just gonna pick the best.
They just go with the net.
Net.
They don't even care. Now,
Yeah.
back in the day on HUD homes, as agents, we could choose our commission too, up to 5%.
Wow.
I've done one of those. I'd put me as a 5%
Yeah.
VAC.
Did you get it?
Only if you
Because
do
it was a
full price
$60,000 property. Yeah, we got it. We got it. I was like, I need to get paid. I'm like busting tail on this. But now that it's just 3%, you can't adjust it. Now the one thing I'll just add, and then we're gonna move on HUD homes, was a lot of questions about the Good Neighbor Next Door program. You guys heard of that? Hey, you can get HUD homes for 50% off.
Yeah.
So this is $155. You've heard of them. They really do exist. They're few and far between. But you can search either on HUD Home Store or you can search on the MLS. I say just go straight to this site and search, and you can select which
How do
ones.
you search for that?
You look for the lottery. So just look through Utah, and under this process, it'll say, eligible bidders. It'll say firefighters, teachers, that whole thing, and then it will just say like lottery, and it will have the deadline. Now, when you do those lotteries, you cannot. There's no negotiations. You just say yes, put us in, and it's at 155. In Utah, there's only a few. There's only about 12 that come out a year in the whole like Salt Lake and Utah County. And I've done one, is all I've ever done. I've bid numerous times, but every time they come on, there's like 30 bidders that bid on these, and they select one. But when you get it, like, it's awesome.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry.
Let's keep popping in. There's also, some of these properties are eligible for their $100 down program.
Yeah.
So watch for those, but they'll only take them on a full price offer.
How does that $100, how's that notified on there? Or how do you find that?
It'll probably say. Actually, I don't know.
Okay.
You might have to check. Like this might be eligible. Most are eligible. Most are eligible.
It's selected properties.
It actually says in the offer paperwork if it is. I
Okay.
think there's an
Yeah.
addendum that says
Yeah.
$100 down eligible or something like that.
Yeah. Questions about Good Neighbor Next Door? I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it, but I want to let you know that it's there. Look for them. If you have teachers that are like, hey, I heard about this program, say yes, it's there. The best thing to do on those ones is to actually come to this website, and you can create a hot sheet here and just say, hey, and I'm on it, for example, every morning I get an email from the site that just says, hey, here are you're the
The good
current
neighbor.
lottery, the good neighbor next door lottery, and you get a lot of just Ogden junk, a couple little junkers in Rose Park. And every once in a while, you'll see one that's just like a West Jordan, like barely decent house, and you're like, what?
So
And
those
that's-
have, oh,
Go
sorry. Those
ahead.
have to be owner occupied,
Mhm.
and they have to be,
Teacher, firefighter, or cop.
okay,
And you get paid commission on the whole amount, not just the 50% off. So that's kind of neat how they do that. But then there's still closing costs and stuff like that. They have to occupy the home for 3 years. But once they've hit their 3-year mark,
they have a
free
lot of
money.
equity.
Yeah, a ton
Yeah.
of equity. Cool program, but don't get too excited about it because, like I said, normally I just when I have a teacher that's like, hey, I want one, I'll say, great, I'll put you on a hot sheet for it, but you've got to set their expectations. I'm telling them maybe, a few a year, and then even the ones that you like see and you like, the chances of you getting it are like a 1 in 25 chance. And they're super competitive.
That's why it's called the lottery, huh?
Yeah.
So
And
you could wait several years to get one if you were shopping.
Or not, get one.
yeah, or not. I mean, the couple that I ended up selling to that got it, it was only our second one we got it. We did one on a little West Jordan property, and then it was a little condo in Taylorsville came up. It was $100,000. We won it, so literally $50,000, and then their total price was like 62 because they had a closing cost, and they have to wrap the commissions into that too. It's kind of weird how they do that, but they're just thrilled. I mean, their whole plan is just to
Yeah.
crash there. And she's just like a first grade teacher in Magna, like no kids or anything, so it's like they just made $50,000 like that. It was cool. Okay, let's go back to the list. Next. All right, we go down to the juicy stuff. All right, agent, we're gonna read these. First, what do? We see, okay, we've got an REO. It doesn't tell us the owner type. This is Bustos. We all know William Bustos. If you were at the awards gala, he won. He's like the big cheese in the entire state. But Bustos does a lot of REOs, and he does a lot of this Nation Star.